Welcome to Inspiring Possible. I'm Christy Pennison, former stuck person turned therapist and dream consultant. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, uncertain, or just need a little inspiration? Then I want to help you gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to create possibilities and live a life you love. Because folks, life's too short to be miserable. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here today listening wherever you are, whether you're driving in your car, maybe you're mowing the grass, maybe you're walking around, or maybe you're just sitting down on your couch and taking a listen. I'm really grateful that you have decided to join us today and listen to what I know is going to be an inspiring podcast for your life. But if you are doing whatever you're doing right now, and you may sometimes really struggle with anxiety, and maybe you also feel like I have all this overwhelm, but I can't necessarily get through it all to clear away the mental clutter so that I can feel a little bit more productive, feel a little bit more organized, feel a little bit more in sync in life, and can actually see a path through whatever they're going through. Then you came to the right place. Okay. Because not only do I have somebody who's pursuing her PhD in applied psychology, but also she's the founder and CEO of Organized 365. And she has a book that's coming out pretty soon called Escaping Quicksand. And so if any of the stuff I just said resonates, I hope you stay tuned, because you're going to be in for a real treat. Because not only is this person an author, she's also somebody who has learned that, organization is a learned skill. Isn't it? It is a little learned, but you have to clear away some of that middle clutter to get to the point where you can find the space and mental space to be able to do this. So anyway, she has a podcast, also Organized 365. But without further ado, I'm excited to welcome Lisa Woodruff to the show. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So tell me, how did this become a topic of, focus for you?
Yes. So anxiety recently has become a topic of focus for me, but I am not a child who is anxious. I probably gave anxiety. I joke in my family, I'm the only one that doesn't have anxiety. Even the dog has anxiety, but I don't have anxiety. I just give anxiety. I was always an organized kid. I did a lot of babysitting, got my teaching degree, had kids. I was a stay-at-home mom for a decade, loved that, did direct sales. And then life got hard in my late 30s. Just a lot of #adulting things happened at the same time. I did end up on antidepressants because I was depressed in that period of time. And when I was turning 40, I just realized that I had to do something different. I had to change my story. If I was going to live to be 90 or 100, I couldn't do this for another 40, 50, 60 years. So I quit my teaching job, came home, got my house organized, started the company Organized 365. I've been doing that for 14 years. As I turned 50, I had organized homes in Cincinnati, started the podcast, created some products that help you systematize and organize your home online. And I was like, well, if I'm going to keep working in Organized 365 until I'm 80, what more can I do? And that's when I decided to pursue my PhD at the age of 50. I'll be getting that in a couple of months here. I'll be finishing that up. And that's when I finally learned about anxiety. So I knew a lot about working memory and ADHD and executive function from my kids and my teaching years. And I have learned a lot about that in my PhD. But more recently, I'm so cognitively focused and task-oriented. And anxiety is more the emotional ramification of the overwhelm that we have at home. And it is pervasive, and it is debilitating, and it is significant, and it warrants more research. And really, not more research as in, do women have it? Because they definitely do. But can we please research some solutions? That is what I'm really seeking to do, is to do test some of the products that I've created in academia and see if they do reduce anxiety and do support executive function.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't know about you, but when there is times where I have my ever-growing to-do list, and there are times when I can get through that sucker in lightning speed amount of time that I'm like, whoa, that went quicker than I thought it was going to. And I was so focused and so productive. However, on most days, believe it or not, listeners, I know you might find this surprising. Even for myself, who I would classify as scattered but organized. Okay, scattered but organized. That's how I define myself. It's sometimes harder for me to just get that
Mhm.
checklist going. Like I will overthink something that I'm trying to do and create this bigger scenario in my head that's
Mhm.
actually really in real life, right? Like literally something that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that project. I don't want to do that project. I don't want to do that project. And literally a project would take 15 minutes, but in my mind, it's going to take 15 hours, you know? And
Mhm.
so then it just leads to that paralysis that doesn't get me to start until I'm like, Christy, you could just do it. Just do it. Get it off the plate. But what do you find with the people? Because I know you have a lot of different things that you offer, but like when you've worked on with other women, and then also
Mhm.
just looking as you've been studying, what are
Yeah.
some things that you think really contribute to this higher feelings of anxiety and overwhelm?
Mm. So the specific project you're mentioning that would just take 15 minutes, because oh my gosh, I do that so much. I do that all the time. So a couple of things I notice personally is number one, sometimes you could just say, you know what, I'm just not doing it. And for some reason, like once we put it on a to-do list, we as women feel like we need to do it no matter what. I'm here to tell you, you could just cross it out and not even do it and not ever do it, even if you bought the stuff to do it. So just
Mhm.
want to give you that freedom, first of all. Second of all, I think that writing the list or doing a brain dump or however you're going to get it out of your head is hugely supportive because otherwise, all of these tasks are just floating around in your working memory, eating up all of your cognitive space. So, writing it down actually does reduce anxiety because it moves it deeper into your brain through encoding and moves it out of your brain onto the list. So, that's a great strategy, I think, to initially relieve anxiety. However, then you look at the list and then you get a different kind of anxiety where you're like, okay, well, now it's not in my brain, but now I'm looking at it and I can't do all of this. And I think that's the main thing. We can't do all of this. So we need
Hello,
to
say it louder for the
stop.
people in the
Yeah,
back, Lisa.
right. We need to stop. Like, for example, if you like have a lot of things on your to-do list and you're like, okay, I've got a kid graduating this year. Oh my gosh, so much work comes with a kid graduating. Okay, well then
That'll be me
I'm
next
here to
year.
tell you. Great. This is what here's my prescription for you. Are you ready?
Okay, thank you. Yes.
For March, April, and May, you are going to use paper plates. Okay? That is going to reduce dishes by a lot,
Yeah.
right? Also, March, April, and May, I want you to just have your laundry done at the local dry cleaner. It'll cost like 40, $50 a week. It's not a lot of money. And then you'll just wash the jeans and the towels, which are the expensive part anyway. So for those 90 days, you have to focus on the graduation because that's important and lasting, and people are going to remember that. No one's going to remember that you paid, what's it going to end up being like $400 to have your laundry done and you ate on paper plates for 90 days. But you are going to be able
Mhm.
to enjoy the graduation more because you have that capacity because you changed your housework to match your load during the season.
Yeah. You know what? I'd actually talked about this one time with somebody that I was working with, and I can't remember what was going on or all the specifics, and I wouldn't share them here anyways because of, privacy and all that kind of stuff. But I will say that we were brainstorming, like, what is the support you could get in your household right now because you have all this other stuff on your plate.
Hmm.
And it was crazy how incredibly freeing, like, just like the
Yeah.
examples you just gave of, like, here, if you know this big life event is coming up, what are the things that you can just like minimize or get support in? And that support was like getting somebody to come in and do laundry. Cause now they even have mobile laundry services where people will
Yep.
come in and grab it and do it and bring it back to you, or they'll even do it in your home and then
Yeah.
put it away and all the kind of stuff. I mean, people need jobs, folks. And so they
Right.
will they will come and do these type of things. And not saying that you want everybody in your house, but there could be some trustful people out there
Hmm.
to do your laundry for you if that's what you need in that season. And that was the whole thing. It wasn't that was going to be always permanent because that
Hmm.
person might have had
Hmm.
different capacity at a different time to be able to do all the things. But in that season, it would have been really supportive of them to have that one less thing to worry about. And so I am curious because we are talking about this mental to-do list, and I'm still like a queen of a sticky note. And that helps me just prioritize what's the three things, or maybe four, maybe five that I really think I can get done today. Because
Yeah.
there's just some really gratification for me just to, shred it up and then throw it throw it away. It's like a real thing for me. But how would you say people can create more capacity for themselves, especially when there's things that they know are things they are going to prioritize. Because you're right. I think we as women, and I'm not saying all women, some of you women may have figured it out. And some of you men, I think y'all have really figured this one out. But, you might be like us. You might be in the same boat. But of saying no to things and
Mm.
not overloading and saying, maybe I do need help with this. Maybe I can't do all the things like you mentioned earlier. Like, how do we create more capacity?
Yeah. So capacity is created in a couple of different ways, and how we say no. We could do that in a couple of different ways. First of
Okay.
all, in order to create capacity, you have to create mental capacity first. So you have to empty out your brain, because your working memory and your executive function in your brain is where capacity and thinking comes from. And if it is busy keeping track of your to-do list, it has no additional capacity to think about anything beyond that. So we must find a solution for the to-do list first. Then our brain is free to do all the things that a brain should do. How do you say no? I mean, when you look at your week and you have everything on paper and you realize there's not enough time, that's when you could say no and be like, I'm sorry, I double booked myself. I have to say no. But more proactively, how do you say no? There was someone, and I don't remember who it was. It was 15, 20 years ago. I heard it probably on a radio show or podcast or in a book somewhere. And they said this. They said, every time that you say yes to someone else, you are saying no to your family. And I was like, oh, what? And they're like, yeah, if you say yes to a friend because they need you to do this, or you say yes to a customer to do something for free, to work for free, you're saying no to your family for that income, no to your family for that time, no to your family for that capacity. I was like, oh, that's terrible. And so then I was like, okay, I no longer work for free because it's actually taking away from my family. That helped me actually charge for my services. But also it made me realize every time I said yes to someone who is not my family, I was saying no to my family for that time. And now, as I'm older and my kids are grown, I realize that every time I say yes to someone, even in my family or outside of my family, I'm saying no to what I want to do. Because in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I really prioritized all my time for my kids and my husband and my household. There wasn't a lot of time for whatever Lisa wanted to do. But now I actually prioritize a lot of my time for what Lisa wants to do. Like when the adult children
Yay.
want to do something, or ask for our time, talent, and our resources, I don't always say yes anymore. I usually say yes, but every once in a while I go, no, I don't think we're going to do that. And they look at me, they go, but you can afford it. I go, yeah, but we're not going to do that. Instead, I'm going on a trip, or I'm getting my PhD, or I'm doing, and the kids are like, you're spending your money on yourself? I don't understand this concept. I'm like, well, you better get used to it, because I didn't work this hard for this long for and we do, we prioritize kids' sports. How many of these kids end up being pro athletes? None of them. But we've spent all this time and money on all these sports, and it costs hundreds and thousands of dollars. But if we want to take, 2 hours and $100 to go do something, we're like, here's my plasma. Could I please go to the store and get new underwear? No? Okay, fine. I'll keep wearing the ones with holes. We as women so devalue the finances and the time in our family for our own benefit because we feel like it is selfish. It is not.
Mhm.
We are also a human in this family that also has needs that can be met with the resources that the family has. And we should have, I'm not saying we should have our fair share or whatever. Right now, I'm definitely taking more than my fair share. But hey, for a long time, I didn't take any. So
That's
there's
right.
that.
There you go. And that
I have new clothes finally. I finally have new clothes
Yay!
after the hand-me-downs for 20
No
years.
more thrift shopping. Listen,
Yes,
I
thrift
still love a good
shopping.
thrift shop find.
Yeah.
Whenever I actually go into the store, because I still to this day am somebody who is just, it's so hard for me to pay full price for a piece of clothing.
Yeah.
It's a mental block that I have. I probably need some therapy around this. But anyways, I'll go into the store and I'm like, okay, wow, I really like this top. And it is this much money. But I'm like, oh, but do I need it though? And I'm not saying you can't have nice things, folks. So
Right.
that's what we're talking about. But at the same time, too, it is just saying, okay, well, is this something that I just go run off and do all the time? No. Is it something that would bring me joy if I had this new top? Because, like you said, for years I wore hand me down threads from my friends, or I went to the thrift shop and, now I really want a new top. Then you can do those things that help make you feel supported and supportive. But I think it's for so long. You're right. I think at different stages and phases of our life, we may shift the priority to the people that are most important around us.
Mhm.
But I guess what I'm hearing you say is don't forget yourself in that process because, really prioritizing our needs can also help us continue to care for others in the best way possible. Okay, I'm curious, Lisa, because it sounds like you may have put off some of your needs for some years for the family, and you're like, I'm going to take care of you kids, I'm going to take care
Yeah.
of whatever. How has, for yourself, shifting, prioritizing maybe your needs, and did you always, you might have always did a good job of this, but like, do you feel like you're doing that a little bit better at this stage of life, or were you always somebody who prioritized your needs?
So I think that it's not even if you have children, it's not even an option of if you're going to give up your needs for children because you are. Like because they
Yeah.
don't sleep through the night and then they need private schooling and then they need therapy and then they're going to be, a soccer player or whatever and you're just going to continue to give and give and give and give. I find that the problem for me and the reason I wrote Escaping Quicksand, what I see is the problem for other women as their kids get older, and even if kids don't get older when they're in their 40s is this. They have shopped at the thrift store. Like, that's what I did for a decade. My kids always got new clothes, but I always shopped at the thrift store. And we get into this pattern of we will give of ourselves to our family to our own detriment. And we're fine with it because we're raising children or, we're supporting our spouse through growing something and it's okay in a season. The problem comes when that season is over. And now, number one, we don't know how to take some of those resources for ourselves without guilt and also, our family is so used to us not having any needs whatsoever. That's kind of weird that we have needs. Like, you have needs? I didn't know you were a human. I thought you were just like Rosie the robot or something. And it's really, causes a lot of disturbance in the family, so to speak.
Mhm.
I was a stay-at-home mom that didn't need a lot of resources. Now I'm a CEO of my own company and I want to travel and all these things. And my husband's like, wait, I signed up for the stay-at-home mom. I'm like, newsflash, they're grown. He's like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Do you want me to be a stay-at-home dog mom? Stay-at-home grandma?" He goes, "That'd be great." I was like, "No, no, I'm not going to do that." And
This is
it kind of,
shifting. We're shifting,
yeah,
honey. We're shifting.
surprises the kids. The kids are in their 20s, and in your 20s, you have no money.
Mhm.
And so they're like, "Oh, I've had the same clothes for like 4 years because you get new clothes when you're a kid because you grow. When you're in your 20s, you don't grow. So then you don't get new clothes. And then you're surprised why there's not a new wardrobe every 18 months. And I'm like, yeah, you're not growing. They're like, oh. But then I go to the store and I get a new wardrobe. And they're like, why are you getting a new wardrobe? I'm like, because I'm a CEO and I travel. And they're like, I was like, here's the thrift store. Welcome to your 20s. But it is hard because kids grow up where they are the focus of your attention. And as they grow up, you go from not having money to hopefully having some money by the time they graduate. Now you have the most money you've ever had by the time they're starting their life where they have no money and they think your money is their money. And I'm like, sorry, it is
Yeah.
not your money. We spent it on you
Mhm.
for a long time, but now I shall be spending some of it on myself. And it's uncomfortable. I am articulating this because it took me a long time to feel comfortable with spending some of my husband's and my resources on myself just because I wanted to. Like to get a PhD is not inexpensive and it
Yeah.
takes a lot of time. And I did it anyway.
That's right. Well, and you know what? It is interesting because, there's so many times throughout different phases of life where we tell ourselves certain things.
Hmm.
And like you said, I think the point that I heard what you just said really is, well, what about their seasons? And when that season transitions, are we still holding on to some of these limiting mindsets that don't
Yeah.
allow us to fully step into this next season of life? And I can think about this actually as we're talking. And mom, if you're listening, thanks for listening. But I remember me and my mom have been having these conversations a good bit lately. And, just disclaimer, Lisa, like I just entered into the 40 range. Okay. And so me and my mom have had conversations back and forth. And she is really, I'm going to give her some credit. She's been doing such good work on like really prioritizing her needs and saying, like, no, this is no longer working for me. No, I'm not going to step in and do that. Yes, I'm okay with doing this, and we've had a lot of conversations because it was super hard for her because naturally, I mean, I'm sure some people feel this way about their mother, and I know there's not everybody feels this way about their mother too. So there's two extremes. But like my mother, I felt like she was like the angel that came down that said, "Oh, I'm a mother." You know what I mean? Like she like
Yes.
I don't even mother like she mothers. It's like she mothers on a different level. And so she's always supportive, always
Yeah.
there, like, she's a cheerleader on the side, and if one of her kids, and it's just 2 of us, but one of us is in a peril, she would probably drop whatever she's doing and
Yeah.
come rescue us with her, her tractor and her fire starter because she loves to work out in the yard and set fires to things, okay? So, I got her one of those, like, flamethrower things for
Yeah.
Christmas, and she loves it. She's, like, always, like, burning her pile. But anyways, so that's the kind of mom she is, but it has taken her, and I think she would agree,
Mhm.
so mom, I don't mean to be putting you on blast here, but, like, a while to say, "Hey, no, I'm gonna create that boundary. That's
Mhm.
not my role to do that anymore.
Mhm.
Although I don't like to see you in pain, you
Mhm.
are old enough to make your own choices." Like you said, the
Mhm.
resources, sure, we could go buy you another wardrobe, but that is
Mhm.
not the season we're in life. And just being able to take the time to say, what
Yeah.
is the things that I need and makes me happy? It's been really cool for me to see my mom kind of step into that. But also, there has been some things where it's like, well, yes, Christy, no, Christy, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, okay, mom, that's fine. Or yeah, no, I can't. That's not something I can do right now. Or I'll call my mom sometimes like, "Mom, why didn't you answer the phone?" Because I left my phone in the kitchen and I'm not trying to get it anytime soon. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's just that
Yeah.
it's so tempted so far and to make that shift when you have been that person that has focused on making sure everybody else's needs met for certain seasons of your life. And let me ask you this. Do you think there's a way, because you've had this experience when it sounds like when you were in your 30s and 20s and kids were younger and things like that. Um, did you ever and I know I just asked this in a different way, but did you find that it was extremely hard for you to prioritize your needs just overall? Like, was there ever, like, a moment that you could get to yourself, or were you able to do a thing for yourself every now and then to help you just kind of clear some of that and give yourself some space and time?
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of things I did. They're weird, but I mean, these are some things
That's
I did.
okay. I love it.
So my kids are 18 months apart, and they had a lot of
Okay.
challenges as kids. They just needed a lot of extra stuff. And when my oldest was a baby, he never slept through the night. And then at 10 months, I was like, "Sorry, buddy," and I turned on a hall fan, and we are just like, "I guess you're gonna cry tonight because I just can't do it anymore."
Mhm.
That box fan in the hall was there until my kids went to college, and I ran it pretty much 24/7. Also, my favorite places to organize were the laundry room and the storage room because I could hear, like, if somebody was gonna, like, break their neck or something, but otherwise, it was just like a low hum of the kids doing something. The washing machine would kind of drown them out, and I'd go in there and I'd kinda, like, think my thoughts. Once I had AirPods, like you're wearing, eared
Mhm.
AirPods, I would cut one of those off and I would have a wired ear pod in one of my ears, and it would be connected to my phone. As soon as podcasts came out, like in 2007 or whatever, I was listening to a podcast all the time because I love learning. I love growing. We had no money. So I was always listening to podcasts because I just saw them as free audiobooks. The only budget I never cut, I was never able to cut it, and I would put it on a credit card if we didn't have money, was books. Like I always bought books because I just needed to be learning and growing and using my brain. Even though I didn't have any time to do anything with anything I was learning, I was like, I must be learning at all times. So that is one way in which I kept myself sane. And I watch people who have young children who are very ambitious and goal oriented as I am. And even though I wanted to be a stay at home mom and I loved every minute of it, it is really hard to be giving of yourself in every way to your kids and not be checking off goals. Like, yes, you're growing humans. Really big goal. Yeah, did that. That's great. But also, like, when you're goal oriented, like, you like to be hitting the mark and hitting more goals. And so there were a lot of times where I was like, am I ever going to get any of my life back? Am I ever going to get any time back? That's why when I'm in interviews, I say, I'm in my 50s. I have more time than I know what to do with because I want you to know in your 20s and 30s and early 40s, like, I know it feels like you're never, ever, ever going to have any time. You are going to have more time than you know what to do with. I'm almost done with the PhD. I'm like, well, maybe I'll go get a master's now in business. And my husband's like, why? I'm like, because the college is right down the street and da 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 da. He's like, what? I'm like, well, I'm going to have more time than I know what to do with. And he's like, you're so weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am so weird. So that was a really hard thing for me as a parent, was to be able to be a lifelong learner and not be able to get out and do classes. And I'm obviously an extrovert and be out around other people.
Mhm.
There's a lot
Yeah,
of
but
time at
that's so
home.
true. And I'm glad you're talking about that because, I was actually watching, I sometimes binge watch Netflix, is probably not the best habit. But, anyways, I also love to watch, some of these therapy shows since I'm a
Yeah.
therapist. I don't know why, I just love I mean, I know that it's not, like, the same because people are being
Mhm.
filmed while they're being honest, and I'm like, "Okay, are they being as honest?" I don't know. But I was watching this couple recently on this couple therapy show, okay? Tells you how I nerd out on this stuff. And it was a very similar situation. It was a younger mom who had a very thriving career as, like,
Mm.
a project manager before she started
Yes.
having kids, and they had decided that she would be at home until the kids got to a certain age, like, that was their family agreement for the family. And you could tell, and that was one of the things they were talking about because in the reverse, the husband who maybe had not had the, I guess we'll just say as prestigious of a maybe role or whatever, had then since then grown a company and was doing really well and very like, achieving those goals that you said. But she was like, "You know what? I know that I chose because I wanted to prioritize it was agreed upon raising these humans." But like you said, you could tell even the way she was talking about stuff, she's like, but she still wanted something that would help her still grow,
Mhm.
even though she knew that that was going to be for a season, because she felt like that she was losing part of herself in the process of raising humans, which I think, again, this story is not like a unknown thing. It's something that happens to a lot of people
Mhm.
and a lot of families. But I love how you said, how did you continue to learn and feed
Yeah.
that need for you to continue to be able to feel like you're applying your brain and learning things and hearing things, even though
Mhm.
you weren't able to actually implement some of the
Mhm.
stuff that you were learning until you got to this stage of life. I think that's pretty cool that you were able maybe and you maybe didn't do it like consciously. Maybe you did, but like this is the way that I'm going to continue to keep this part of me
Mhm.
learning, open, engaged, even though I'm not able to do all the things in this season because I'm prioritizing my family and the raising of human beings, which, honestly, I'm sure I hope, I don't know your kids, but I would imagine that they're grateful that you were
Yeah.
able to stay at home. I mean, my mom was able to stay at home with us, and I know it's not something everybody can do, but she stayed at home with us until 10, because then my parents
Yep.
got divorced, but I can remember, honestly, that was, like, what a gift to have, like, a mom that was super present, but again, she may have not always got to pursue all the things that she wanted to pursue in that season because, again, me and my brother were a little rowdy, and she kinda had to chase us down sometimes, so but it is trying to think about as a woman what are your needs in every different
Mhm.
season? And just because your priorities are a little bit shifted in that season because of the things that you value, like it sounds like you value family a lot. And so that was something that was a priority for you. But then when that season shifts, it's like, okay, well, I still value family, but I can also I always valued learning, it sounds like. So
Yeah.
now I can actually have the time and space to apply some of that learning. And now you're helping other people try to figure this out too. So that's pretty cool.
We talk
Yeah,
about
go
little
ahead.
kids a lot because, like, they'd literally die if we didn't take care of them. So it's kind of
Mhm.
important. Somebody has to take care of them, or you pay for childcare, which is like college now. Anyways, somebody's got to take care of them. Someone has to sacrifice the time in order to take care of the children. The problem, I think, for women throughout our lifetime is that that is a known quantity. Like when you get pregnant or you adopt a kid, you're like, okay, well, we've, X amount of years we've just allocated to this child. What you don't really cognitively think about is after they're in school, school is not the same hours as work. School is less hours than work. So someone's going to have to care for them before and after school, or you're going to have to tag team those school years. Then you really don't think about high school. You think, well, this is easy. They can come home from school from the bus. They can come in the house. They don't need us. Wrong. Because they go 8 million different directions. You're like an octopus. I was in my house, in my car, 25 hours a week when my kids were in high
I
school.
believe it. I believe
So, I mean,
it.
you're like, why didn't anybody tell us about this? Then, once your kids are adults, they do need you. They do still need your support. You do still want to support them. So, that's an amount of time. But even with the children, and a lot of people don't have children, but we all have parents and grandparents. And you don't really think about when they're going to need your help. When they're going to need your help just a little bit, or when they fall and now they're going to need your help for a longer season, or sometimes that's multiple years where you're going to be a caregiver. And in all of these seasons where you find yourself as a caregiver for children or parents or siblings or spouses or yourself, if you get sick, there should be a little bit of that week, a way for you to continue to grow your uniqueness and feed into yourself. So for me, I love that I love podcasts because I can listen to them in the car. I can, listen to them as I'm taking my bath. Like I can kind of sneak in that learning anywhere, even when I'm in these really busy seasons. So especially as women, we will find our time is never our own. It's really hard to get big open pockets. I can't believe I finished the PhD. My mother-in-law fell again last month, and she's fine, no worries. But I was like, whew, I'm actually going to get through the PhD. I didn't have any big life-altering event that really postponed me getting the PhD, which is very likely with most women, that they can't
Mhm.
actually get through the coursework in 3 years because something will happen that will derail that.
Yeah. Well, and to your point too, it's like you said, life happens. So it's whether it's
Mhm.
caregiving for kids, caregiver for older family members.
Mhm.
I mean, life just happens and
Mhm.
sometimes it does get in the way. But I guess what I'm hearing you say too is even if things pivot, you can always kind of reprioritize and get back on
Yes.
there at some point. So yeah, it's exciting that you're getting to the end of that because I know that's a lot of work, labor of love to get to that piece of paper that you're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I have gotten this done and I have arrived." Is there any other things that come to mind when you think about women, especially women that maybe feel anxious often? Any other things that you would maybe say for them to consider or maybe different ways of, I don't wanna say being, but if there's things that they could do that would help them manage some of that a
Yeah,
little bit better?
when I get overwhelmed, when I get really anxious, because there is more to do than I have time to do. It really is hard for me to A, remember the things I'm supposed to do, and B, create any kind of prioritization that actually and when I get really, really overwhelmed and there are a lot of things to do and I make a list, but it's not a complete list and I start working on a task and then I remember something that's of higher priority, then I'm really mad I wasn't working on that thing because my time is so precious and I know I'm not going to get through everything anyway. I feel anxious just even telling you about it. So, what I would say is, in those times, I realize it is counterintuitive, but more important that I actually stop doing everything I'm doing as soon as I can and take the time to make a big, long brain dump of every single thing I possibly could do or need to do. And when I'm done looking at the list, I realize that a lot of those things are on my mind because I'm in this wound up state, but they actually don't need to be done now. So then I go back through that list and I pull off that list the things that actually need to be done in a certain period of time. And I look at that smaller list and then I try to eliminate as many things as possible. Then I schedule out on my calendar when those things are going to get done. And then I just run that plan. So for me, that ability to empty out my working memory so I could see it all on paper, realize that it is more than I can humanly do. And maybe you have to call some people or tell some people, hey, I can't do this, or this isn't going to happen right now, or something unexpected happened. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say no to that. Once you say those no's, you will feel so much more relieved. Then you take what's left, put it on your calendar, and then just run your calendar until it's done. You've made all the decisions. At least you've made all the decisions. The work is still there. Now you just have to do the work and make yourself do what you actually put on there and not derail yourself. And that, for me, takes a lot of the anxiety out.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point because there is such a thing as decision fatigue and decision
Mhm.
anxiety and whatever. And sometimes it's just like saying what the path is going to be and committing to it. And to your point, it's what's not going to be on the path this week. Like,
Yeah.
what are we not doing this week? And it's really interesting because I don't know about you, Lisa, but there is always expectations I have of myself that nobody else has of me.
Yeah.
But in my mind, because it's on my list that I
Mhm.
feel is supposed to be done by this point in time, then that is also what creates kind of some of that anxiety. And to your point, I think you said this way back at the beginning of the episode, but like sometimes you just don't have to do it. And
Right.
I have to really do this mental talking with myself. Like literally, I don't know if you do this, but I like to talk to myself as I'm looking at my little to do list. I'm like, okay, yes, that didn't get done. Oh my gosh, it's 3 weeks and that still hasn't gotten done. But then I have to remind myself, Christy, if this was super important, you would have put it to the top,
Mhm.
you know? And just because it hasn't gotten done yet, and the fact that it's lasted this long and still hasn't got done
Mhm.
shows you that it's okay that it didn't get done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But so many times in our mind, we'll say, well, it didn't get done in the time that I wanted, the way that I wanted. And I think sometimes it is just letting that thing go too. If it doesn't end up rising to the top of the priority list, maybe it was never supposed to be on the list to begin with. Or maybe it's just not the timing for you to do that
Yeah.
until there's some urgency around it that you're like, okay, I got to do it now, but it's that ebb and flow of like trying to look into the future to be prepared, but also
Mhm.
not set so many expectations of yourself that it's unattainable. And what I see women particularly do, because again, I'm using my point as reference, and I know y'all like me or Lisa. Okay. But we do these things that's like, but this is what is expected. And the truth is like, who says? I can't
Right.
remember where I heard that once, but it's like, well, who said you're supposed to be doing that? You? Maybe it was somebody else, but it could be also that. Who says I'm supposed to do that? Or who do I need to ask for help to do something?
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that we always have help readily available, but that can also be to our point from our previous discussion at the beginning is like, maybe there's somebody that could support me doing this thing that may seem not significant to anybody else, but it's significant to me, and it would really clear a lot for me to get that support in this area. So,
Yeah, and there's something I did when my kids were in grade school. I had a friend in the neighborhood. She loved to cook and I loved to do laundry. And so we swapped chores. She would literally drop all her laundry off on Monday morning on my front stoop, and I would do all of her laundry for her. And I would give it back to her on Tuesday night, and she would give me 2 dinners. It was
I
great.
love this because I
It
would be
was
the one that would do the
great.
laundry, and I would want a friend that can cook.
It was great. It was great,
Yeah.
and it lasted for, like, a couple of years. So, I mean, when you say, like, who can help do this, sometimes it's not even the time it's gonna take, it's just something that is really, really hard for you.
Mhm.
Cooking is really hard for me.
Yeah, it is too. I don't know why. It's like this mental block. And cooking is like literally when I do it, I'm like, why? Why have I made it? But I think, Lisa, I don't know about you, but it's the preparing of the list. It's the like, okay, I need to have everything in the refrigerator. Like to me, going to the like grocery store seems like this insurmountable mountain that I just am like, if avoid at all cost. But then my daughter like literally was like, Mom, I want this thing. Like she wanted to go get rubbing alcohol the other night to Walmart and she drives now. And literally she was back in like, she did it all in like 15 minutes, went to Walmart and came back. And I'm like, how did she do that quick? Because in my mind, a trip to get out of the house to go to Walmart is gonna take
2
5
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Too,
2
yeah. I'm
hours.
like,
2
it's gonna
hours.
take a long time.
2 hours.
And it really wouldn't if I was just going there with a
Yeah.
plan, but it's the thinking, and I think that's the
Yeah.
hard part of that
Yeah.
that just goes into the cooking. But anyways.
Mhm.
Well, okay, so if people are like, "Look, I wanna know more about this book that you have coming out, Escaping Quicksand," maybe what's like a little teaser you can kinda give them to let them know a little bit more about what they can expect, and who is this book for?
Okay, so escaping quicksand is for anyone who is overwhelmed, mostly women who are overwhelmed and want to know how do I like I gave you that idea of doing the brain dump and making the list and cutting down, and now you've scheduled your week and then that week's done and you're like, "Oh, I'm overwhelmed again." And we just go through this overwhelmed, overwhelmed, overwhelmed. If you are in that season and you don't know how to get out and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't gotten something new in a decade." Like I didn't You're right. I do have underwear that has holes in it. Maybe I should do that this weekend. Like you're so used to giving of yourself that you're depleted and you have nothing left to give, then Escaping Quicksand is a 10-step book that really has you think through how did you get to the point where you don't have these things anymore, that you aren't meeting your own needs like you are meeting everyone else's needs in the family. And how can you kind of walk through the mental mindset shifts of thinking about putting yourself back on the list, and what would the first steps be?
Okay, I love that, and I know a lot of our listeners are gonna deeply resonate with that because I can't tell you how many times sometimes I do get messages from people, and they're like, "What? A mom that understands and hears me," you know? Because
Yes.
they might be just like you, the mom that was listening to podcasts and is just like, "Can somebody validate this experience? And then what are the
Yes.
ways that I can." And, I think what's really inspiring about your story too is, this whole podcast is about inspiring possible. So it's giving people ideas of what could be possible
Hmm.
for their life. But what I love about your story is that I do think it helps give hope. Like, and I say give hope, but like for people that are choosing, they're like, I'm raising my tiny humans to the best,
Yes.
adults that they hopefully can grow into, which we all know we can try our best and, then we just got to leave the
Yeah.
rest. But, that we're raising kids in this season. And I think what's inspiring about yours is to give those moms that are like, I feel like I'm giving of myself in this season, that there's also this whole other world on the other side
Yes.
that like once
Yes.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yes.
you kind of started a whole company. You started
Uh-huh.
like you've wrote a book, you started a podcast, you're supporting other people. and you're even doing your PhD that you're about to be done with. Like, so life, it may seem like it's like reprioritized for this season, but doesn't mean that
Mhm.
there's not significant possibilities once you feel like you've completed that journey of, okay, I've gotten my kids this far. And then it sounds like then you put the boundaries up that says, I love you. I'm still here to support you,
Yep.
still here to help you in different ways through life. But I'm also
Yeah.
going to start being able to do some things that I've been wanting to do for a while and figuring out what that next phase of life is going to look like for me. So that's incredible.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, Lisa, I do have a question for you that I like to ask all my guests, but
Okay.
I wonder if you could go back to younger mom you, is there one piece of advice or a word of encouragement, just like we were talking about, that you would want to give yourself in that season of life
I would
from you
just say
today?
you're doing a great job. Like, you're doing a
Yeah.
great job. I see you. You're doing a great job, and go take a nap.
Yeah.
I always tell women, go take a nap. Like, a nap will solve more than anything you're gonna check off that to-do list. Like, if you're well rested, everything is gonna go better. I know that's so hard to do, but take the
Yeah.
naps.
Take the nap. I love that. Yeah, because I
Mhm.
mean, honestly, especially in those early years when you're not necessarily
Mhm.
sleeping good, like nap. And our body needs that. It needs the reset. Because again, I don't know about you, Lisa, but I know how I am on even like 6 hours of sleep. I'm not the
Not
most
good.
pleasant. I try to go for 7 or 8. That's my aim. But like when I'm well rested, Christy, I'm a lot better Christy than the like 5, 4, 6 hour sleep Christy.
Yes.
So and
Agreed.
sometimes in the phase of life when your kids are needing you, you don't always get to get that sleep as
Mhm.
restful because you might be worried about them. And then when you know the teenage years, that's a whole nother thing. Then it kind of flip flops back. You're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, look, I know you have the book that's coming out soon. So if people want to find out more about you, connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, the website is called Organized 365. The podcast is Organized 365, and you can find the book on the website or go to escapingquicksand.com.
Okay, awesome. And when is it set to release?
It releases June 23rd, but if you get a pre-release, if this comes out before then I'm giving the audio chapters of the book away free 1 week at a time. We're doing a big, huge group book club. So each week a new
Oh,
chapter
so
drops.
fun.
And then where I'm
Love that.
recording extra videos, and then everybody's sharing their stories, and everyone is really participating. It's really fun. So the nice thing about that is by the time you get your book in the mail, once it releases, you're already going to have listened to the whole thing and implemented it. And every step except one is free to implement. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And then at that point, look, you can like gift the book to mom who need or
Yeah.
somebody who needs it that's feeling overwhelmed and,
Yeah.
trying to just escape that quicksand, like the book is titled. So, well, Lisa, I just want to, acknowledge you and really give some appreciation to you for not only coming to the show, but I really do, like I said, it's inspiring that you were able to then, come full circle and now you're living a life where you're like, okay, I'm trying to reach out to younger me. That's what I feel like this book
Yes.
is, right? And younger Lisa to help encourage them and help them find their way through overwhelm and some of this modern mommy life to kind of be the beacon to say like, keep going,
Yes.
ladies, take that nap. You're going to get through, prioritize yourself a little bit. And, things are going to get, to a place where you will have more time. Like you said, more time than you know what to do with, but how to really embrace that season that they're in so that they're not so overwhelmed that they miss it. Because I don't know about you, but I mean, did your kids' childhood pass quicker than you
No.
thought it would at this point? No, it didn't.
I don't know who these people are. I'm like,
I feel like it's
those
been a long
toddler
time, but I
years.
go back and I'm
Poof.
like, man, I was like, when that was that. That just seems like yesterday.
I
So
really enjoyed it, and I really embraced every single season the kids were in, and so it did pass. It didn't feel like it passed too quickly, and I'm really enjoying the seasons I'm in now. So I don't really have any
yeah.
regrets, or I mean, I understand what people are saying when they say that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, but like you said, I think one of the things that at least I hear your message is like, how can you be able to fully embrace that with not feeling overwhelmed all the time? Because I
Mhm.
do know that when you're constantly in that state of overwhelm, and I know you said
Mhm.
anxiety kind of skipped me, but it landed on everybody else.
Yeah.
When you are
Yeah.
in that state, it's like you can't always embrace it for what it is. And
Mhm.
so,
True.
yeah. So Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And you guys, if y'all are listening, y'all know I leave y'all with a piece of advice that I'm leaving from that I got from Lisa. But one of the things I think I'm leaving with is just kind of like how our conversation is ending. Like, the season you're in wherever you find yourself is totally an awesome season, but it won't be the season
Mhm.
forever. But the more you can find a way to live that non-anxious life where you can overcome that overwhelm and not feel like you're just sinking all the time, then that way that you can show up better for everybody around you, then that is a win-win. So I hope y'all check out Lisa's book, and until next time.
That's all for today on Inspiring Possible. If you found a little inspiration today, please go on over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen to leave us a comment and rate us. Also, make sure and link up with me at inspiringpossible.com to get the free Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. And don't forget to follow us on social media and share this with anyone who needs to be inspired. Remember, if you can believe it, it's possible.